So hi everyone. Tonight we'll work with arrays. So you already know arrays, but I'll just go through it, and also I'll do some exercises so that, or practice, so that we practice, right? Okay, so let's start the package for today, and then during the class I'll also do the exercise that I asked last week as a homework. Because that was a nice one. One of the students, she asked me that question. I solved it myself, and I said, okay, this is a good one. Let's try to solve it in class together. Okay, so let's create the package for this week. Review 6. Okay, so arrays. So arrays, what is the, I mean, we talked about arrays. Actually, we should have done arrays first and then collections, but we did collections and then arrays. But I think we should do next week collections again. So today we'll work with arrays, and then next week we'll work with collections. I think we have to definitely go through collections again, because there are a lot of exercise, a lot of interview questions related with collections, and maybe also maps. So in array, what we know, and that's the problem, that's why collections was introduced. So in arrays, we have a fixed size of elements, of objects in one list, right? So let's create a new class, and then arrays demo, let's say. And then we initialize. I also myself ask this question again and again. So should we say int array new int, and then here we say the size of array, of course. So we say, let's say we want 4 elements in an array. So should we say int array, or should we put the brackets after this one? So this is a question that I always ask. Both ways are okay. So even this way, even that way, they're both are allowed. Okay, so you can initialize the array this way. Let me say array 1, or this way. So they're both. Of course, you should say another name. So this is array 1, which has 4 elements, and this is array 2, which has 4 elements. Again, so those are both acceptable. Okay. And here we definitely have to say the size of the array, right? When it's a one-dimensional array, we have to say, okay, we have an array with 4 integers. And also another way of initializing the array, of course, is let's say array 3, and then we say equal to new int, and then we give the list of numbers, right? Like I say 1, 2, 3, 4. So again, we have another array with 4 elements. Okay, so we can either directly initialize the array with 4 elements this way, or this way we initialize an array that has 4 elements, but the value is 0. Okay, at the beginning, and then we can change the value, like we can initialize values for each element. So why were array introduced? Let's have let's say a logical way of thinking. So let's say we can say, why do I need this array with 4 elements, right? Let's say these others are comment out. We can say, okay, int element 1 equals 3, and then int element 2 equals 5, and then int element 3 is equal 6, whatever. So we have 3 numbers. So in this way, we have 3 numbers. So each of these elements is an integer. Okay, it can be any other type, any other object or primitive type. So we have to declare multiple elements, right? But if we declare an array, so there are already 4 spaces here in this case, 4 spaces assigned. So I can save there 4 elements, and then I can loop through them. So that's also another easy way, because if I have these elements, I cannot loop through them. So I have to do whenever I have to do anything with, let's say I want the sum of these 3 elements. So I have to add element 1 and 2, and then get the sum, and then 3 and get the sum, right? Or that, like we can say, right, int sum is equal to, and then I can add element 1 plus element 2 plus element 3. And then, of course, the sum in this case, let me have a 4th one here. Element 4 is, let's say, 8, right? And then here I have plus element 4. So in this case, I can have the sum of those 4 elements, and also let me call this one sum1. And then another way of doing the sum, if I have an array, so I have int sum2 is equal to 0 at the beginning, and then I have to add all this element of an array. Okay, yes. So I can use a for loop, and then integer I equal to 0. Also, let me initialize the array the same way here. Let me copy this one here. Let me leave this as a reference. So this was the second way of initializing the array. Okay, so let's have, I have again the same. So in the first, okay, and now maybe you're a little bit confused what I'm doing, what I'm trying to do. So what I'm trying to do is showing that first I have 4 elements here, and then they have been initialized, and then here I get the sum of those 4 elements. Okay, and I can print the sum. So oops. Of course, we need the main. I always forget about the main method, right? Okay, and then I have to put this one inside main method. You can declare outside main methods, but you cannot print them. So here now I'm trying to print, and then I can print it. Okay, so first way is printing the sum. Let me also comment out this one, and then the sum of these four. Okay, let me put this one down. Okay. So the sum of these 4 elements is 22. Okay. So I can put these 4 elements in an array. So the first element is 3. The second element is 5. The third element is 6, and the fourth element is 8. Okay. And then if I need to get the sum of these elements, I of course have to do a loop, and then I can do for integers equals to 0, I plus plus, and then sorry, I smaller than array1 dot length, and then I plus plus, right? So increment is the third statement. So there are 3 statements there. We learned for loops last week. And then here I can say sum2 is equal to sum2 plus ith element of the array. Okay, array 1. So again, here also here I can say sum2 is equal to array 1 zeroth element, and then plus array 1 first element, I mean second element, but index is 1, and then array 1, and then the next one, and then array 1 again, and then the third one. Okay. And then print here. This is the second way of doing it. Sum2. And then let me have another one, which is sum3 here. In sum3 equals 0. And then here, the third way is adding element in a for loop. And then after the for loop is done, I can say sum3. Okay. So first way is just adding 4 elements, right? This is the first way. The second way is having an array but adding the elements of the array. Second way. And then the third way is using a for loop. This is the third way, is adding. So the sum should be the same, right? Let's hope that's correct. Oh, okay. That all of them are the same. I was worried. I was afraid I did something wrong there. So first way, the sum is 22. Second way, sum is 22. And then third way, sum is 22 again, right? So the first way, so we can have 4 elements, and then we can add them. The second way is we can have an element, when we can have an array with 4 elements, and then I can have the sum of each element. So I can say the sum of the first element, the sum of the second element, I mean the sum of the first plus the second plus the third plus the fourth element. This is the second way. The third way is a for loop. So it looks like this is more complicated. Why are we using a for loop? We're using a for loop because, first of all, it's not always, we don't always know the how many elements are there. The second thing is also, what if we have a million elements? Should we do first element plus second plus third plus fourth and then up to 100 or 1,000 or a million? Of course, that would be very, very I mean, difficult and complicated and complex, and you also don't need that one. But in this way is I mean, very, very easy. And when the arrays get bigger and longer and more dynamic, of course, then it's, I mean, you understand why we're doing it. But in an array, we know that we can save, we can have an array of integers, right? So let me put this one here at the top. We can have an array of string, right? String, and then let's call string array equals new string, and then here we define how many strings. So that's the problem with arrays. You have a fixed size, so you're telling that I'll have 10 elements. Is the same as creating 10 elements this way. So I have a space here. I need a space for 10 elements, and then I'll fill it. At the beginning is empty, so for string it will be null, and then later I can change, I mean, I'll initialize the values from the 0th element to the 10th element, right? What about can we save array of other objects? Is it possible? What do you think? Let's say I don't want an array of integers and strings and byte, but I want an array of, let's say, person, whatever class we have here. Let's say we have employee class, right? So can we have an array of employees, and then it's possible, right? Of course. So here we say again the same way, right? employee. So this is the type. This is how we create one employee, right? I'm not sure. I have to try it because some languages allow it, some languages don't allow it. So that's the question. If we can initialize without the new, I guess we need the new keyword, but it depends on the language. So in Java, probably you need the new array. Don't test me with this kind of questions. Okay, so employee, how do we create one employee? Let me see. Employee and then equals new employee, right? Employee. And then here we can import this one, right? We have in review one, as you can see here in review one, we have employee class. So here I can use employee from review one. Of course, I have to import it. So now it's imported, so I can use employee one. And then if you can see here, this is giving me an error. Why? Because probably employee one doesn't have a default empty constructor. Okay, so it has a constructor with parameters. So if you go there, what is the problem here? Of course, I have to, no, sorry, I have to say public here. Since I didn't say anything here, so it can be used only, it can be seen only within the package, right? We learned this one the first week. So that's why if I say public here, if I say public, now I'll be able to see it from here, right? You see, so I can have one employee. So this is how I initialize one object of an employee. So I declare I have an object of employee. I name it amp, yes, and then I create the object, right? What about if it's an array? Employee, and then employee array, okay, and then equal to new employee. Of course, you have to create employee 3, right? So here we say, okay, I have an array of employees, and then in this array, I'll save 3 employees, right? So what we can do, the same we do with integers, the same we do with string, the same we do with byte, so with the primitive type, we also do the same with objects, right? So we say, okay, employee array, the first element is equal to new employee, right? So I create an employee, I create an object on employee, and I put it to the first element. So before I create any of these, this employee array is an array of employees, but there are 3. Oh, you cannot listen to me? Is everything all right? Can you hear me? Okay, so there's a problem. Probably there's a problem with your, yeah. Okay. So again, I'm creating an array of employees. So the type is employee here, the object. So and then here I'm saying, okay, there will be 3 employees there. If I loop this one at the beginning, of course it's null, right? Because it's not, I mean, it's not initialized. And then now I say, okay, I can initialize the first element of the array. It is an create an object and put it in the array. Okay, so I can do it this way. Okay, this is one way of doing it. So I create the object, or I can do it in 2 steps. How are we doing this 2 steps? We just create an object. So we declare a variable, right? Employee, and then I can say Did I spell this one correct? Okay, employee, temp employee, let's say, okay, temp employee equals new employee. So here I create an object and add it to the temporary, right? So I create an object, I put it to a temporary variable. Now this variable, I can assign this variable to the second element of the array, right? So I say emp array, and then this second one, which is index 1, is equal to temp array, temp, right? So here I'm creating the object and assigning to the first element of the array. Here I'm creating an object and assigning to the variable, and then I'm assigning the variable to the. So here actually we don't need to do it in 2 steps, but just for you to understand and for everybody to understand, that's why I'm doing this one in 2 steps. And then let me say this one second way, even though it's not really a second way. And then here we assign the third element of the array, and then we say emp array, and then we say index 2. Sorry, index 2 is equal to new employee, right? So I'm creating an object of employee and assigning to the third element of the array. Before I assign it, of course, it is empty, right? And then the arrays can be one-dimensional, which is I have a. So why do we use array? So let's say you're serving, let's say, water, right? You have your friends, so you can have a cup of water and give it to your friend, and then let's say you have 10 friends there, and then go to the kitchen, get another cup of water, and give it to the second friend, and then go into the kitchen. Or we can use a tray, right? A tray, and then you can put 1, 2. Let's say your tray has allows you to have 4 cups, right? So in the tray you can put 1, 2, 3, 4. So and then you get 4 water cups, and then bring it to your friend, right? It's easier instead of going back and forth 4 times. So instead of creating 4 elements here, we just create an array, which is I'm holding those 4 elements in just one variable, right? I don't need 4 variables, element 1, element 2, element 3, element 4, but I have just one. Variable, which is array 1, right? And then in the array 1 you can have multiple elements. Or let's say again we had the example of my eggs, right? So we have eggs there, and then here in the eggs you can put in the first place, or let's say the first element of the egg holder, whatever it's called. So the first, the second, and then all of them are different objects of eggs that are put in the I don't know what is the name of the one that holds eggs. There's a name. Nobody knows. Okay, doesn't matter. I'll call tray. I think there's another name, but it's okay. Let's call tray of eggs, right? A tray of eggs. So one dimensional is when you have just one line, right? So you put 1 egg here, 1 egg here, let's say like 10 eggs in one line, right? So that is 1 dimensional. And then you have 2 dimensional, like a normal egg tray. Okay, we're gonna call it tray from now on. And then you have 6 by 3, or you have 3 by 2, right? So this is 2 dimensional. So in the first row and the first column you put an object, in the second row and second column you put an object, right? So that's the difference between 1 dimensional, which is just 1 row, and then 2 dimensional. So you can visually see, right? You say the second column and the third row, right? And also you can have 3 dimensional, which is like, you can imagine like a cube, right? When you have the Rubik cube, and then you can see like the first, second, third column of the second row, and then the depth is the third dimension, right? So that's how you can loop through the 3 dimensional. which is implemented the same way, right? So how do we implement two-dimensional arrays? So I'm going too much in details now. So let's make it easy. Let me give you an example. Okay, we have an array with integers, and I want, of course, we did the sum. We can get the average, right? The average of the integers in a one-dimensional array, right? So let me just write here a new class. So let's do sum and average both together, right? Sum and average both together. Sum and average. Okay. So I'll give you 5 minutes, and then I want the sum of and average, of course, and average of integers in an array. So the integers can be these ones, right? And then I can add a couple more. So let me save this one. And then you can have different integers. 12, 5, 9. Okay. So the question is easy: the sum and average of integers in an array. Okay. So I'll give you like 4 or 5 minutes. Okay. Okay, very good. So it is easy. That's why you solved it. Very good. The thing is, I see one of the solutions. Doesn't matter who the solution is belongs to. Sometimes I see that you use, let's say, you find the sum, and then to find the average, you just divide the sum by 7. Why? Because you see that here there are 7 elements, and then you know the average is sum divided by 7, right? But what if they are 9 elements? What if there are 3 elements? Okay, so the question is generally, we give you an array, and then the sum and average would work for any array, right? So let's say we solve it this way. Int sum is equal to 0, of course, at the beginning, like everyone does. We don't need to initialize average because we can just find it directly. And then for always int I equals 0, I smaller than array. Okay, let me call this one array dot one, array dot length. Of course, main, always main. I have to remember this main thing. Array dot length and then I plus plus. So, and then sum is equal, of course, to sum plus array element I. Okay, so that's very easy to find the sum, right? And then the average, of course, we don't say average int average is equal to sum divided by 7, because if they give us a different array, which is this one, and then this one has a couple more numbers, which is 14, 83, and then 0, and then whatever number is missing there, 11, then it will not work for this one. It will be wrong, right? No problem. I'm not mentioning any names. I'm just saying, because I've seen a couple of times when you solve questions, you use like fixed values. You cannot use fixed values. You know that is sum divided by the length of the array, right? If there's 1 element, the sum divided by 1. If there are 7 elements, sum divided by 7. And then if there are 100 elements, sum divided by the length of, which is this one, the length of the array, right? And then after that one, you can just print. We can print sum is, and then you write sum, and then the same for average. Average is average. Okay, let's hope that this is, yeah, I need the mean, right? Always. Let's hope this is correct. And okay, the sum is 156, the very average. Of course, now in this way, since we said average is integer, then you divide it and then it's rounded, okay? But of course, we should say average is not an integer, but it is a double, right? So because average is not an integer, when you divide it by, oh, in this case, it's 14, right? What if I change this one to 13? Of course, I have to say it double, right? Yes. Okay. So the average is double, right? Whatever is the sum divided by those numbers is the average. Okay, it was easy, right? So again, let's go back here after this very, very complicated example. Let's go here back. So we said that instead of creating n elements, we create an array with those elements, right? And then we use a for loop to loop through all the elements. If we need to add them, if we need to print them, whatever we need to do, we just use a for loop. And then also we said that we can create an array of objects, right? So in this case, we created an array of employee, which was an object in review 1. And then this was an array with 3 elements, and then I just initialized all 3 elements. So before initializing, so it's an array of employees, but those 3 values are null, right? Those 3 spaces are null. And then after that one, we initialize. So it's like similar with collections, right? The only thing is collections is an upgraded version of arrays when they are flexible, right? They can grow and they can shrink, but for arrays, those are fixed. So if you say I have an array with 4 elements, there will be 4 elements. If you need the 5th one, you have to create another array and then pass those elements to the 5th to the new array. You cannot shrink and change the size of the array, but for collections you can definitely change it. But of course, array is very, very fast compared to collections. If you know the size, so you better use array. You don't use collections. You use collections when it's flexible. If you don't know how many will be there, you'll just get something from the database and you fill it there. Or so when it is flexible, of course, you have to use array list or hash set or whatever collections. But if it's fixed, if we know that I'll have 4 elements, you better use array because arrays are really, really faster than collections. Okay. And then we said that we have 2 dimensions. Okay, let's continue. We have 2-dimensional arrays, right? We can have 2-dimensional arrays of integers, of strings, of objects, everything. So what about, so we say here this is an array of ints, right? I have a question for you. Can we say we have an array of integers like this? Can we use the object class, the wrapper class, integer? Let's say ints, whatever. And then can we use it? Yes. So that's the difference between array and collections. In arrays we use the primitive type. Also we use the objects, right? So integer is just an object, and then here we say new integer. New integer, and then we say 5. Okay, whatever. So we can have. Let me say integers here. Okay, so I'm saying that I will have 4 integers there. So these 2 are the same because ints and integers are interchangeable. But anyways, we can use the object class. But in collections, we cannot use primitive type. We can only use this object. That's why this object is created, because we were able to use this one in arrays. We didn't need this one. But for collections, those Java guys created wrapper classes. For int, they created integer. For bool, they created a boolean class, and then for double, they created a double class, and blah blah blah, so on and so on. So that's why the object. But here in arrays, we can use ints and integers. We don't need to use integers as an object. We can use primitive type. It's easier and faster and more understandable. But anyways, this is the same. It will save 5 integers there. And then we said, let's have 2-dimensional, right? And then 2D array. Oops. 2-dimensional array. equals new int, and then here we definitely have to declare one of the sides. We can declare both sides. So it's saying, okay, I have a 6 by 3 array, which means it's an egg tray, right? Because egg trays are 6 by 3. So there is a 6 by 3 array. So you have first column, second column, or let's say first row, second row, third row, and then on to sixth row. And then we have 1 column, 2 columns, 3 columns. Okay, you can name them as you want, but there's a 6 by 3 array, right? And then here we can initialize this array, right, by using a a for loop, nested for loop, right? So I say for int I equals to 0. So put the rows first. I smaller than 6, or we don't know. That's why we use two-dimensional array times, dot length. Okay. I plus plus, right? So we are doing for each row, and then here we have to loop the columns. Okay, so for int j, that's what we use in I and j, right? I smaller than two-dimensional array ith row, so we are in this row, and then we need the length, right? And then okay, not I here, j, of course, and then j plus plus. What happened here? Of course, I have to say it's 0. Okay, and then I want to put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, whatever, right? So here I can initialize a number int sequence, right? Whatever sequence, it's equal to 1, or let me start with 0, and then I say array two-dimensional array, and then here I say the ith element, ith row, and the jth column equals to sequence plus plus, right? So I put I put 1 on the first one, and then I continue 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So that will be the last one will be 18, right? So if I do this way, I think it will start from 0. If I use the sequence plus plus sequence, and then I think it starts from 1. So let's try both ways. And then this is to initialize, to put the values in the array, and this is to print the array, right? Print the array. This is to initialize. Values. Okay, and then here I just say, okay, let me print the ith element and jth element of the array. And of course, let's put a new line at the end of each row. Okay, so not print line, but print. Okay, and also let me just comment out whatever we did earlier. Up to here, right? Okay, what if I do plus plus sequence? I think it will start from 1. Okay, as you can see, there are 6 rows and 3 columns, right? Okay. Did everybody understand this example? Are there any questions? What happened there? And then should I just talk more about this one, or is it okay? Is there anybody who has questions about this one? So here we initialize the values of the array. So we start the first element, the first row and the first column, put some value, and then second row and put the value, and then until we fill all the values. And then at the end, we just print all of them. Nobody's answering. What do you think, guys? Do you have any questions, or is it okay? Or my microphone is not working? I guess I'm talking to myself. Okay, so let me just go through it again. So we created a 2-dimensional array which has 6 rows and 3 columns. So in the first ones, we're saying for every row, so the first row, so here we are in the first row, right? And then for each element of the first row, so the first column, second column, third column, right? So the length, we're talking about the length of the first row, right? The length of the first row, it is 3. So from 0 to less than 3, so 0, 1, 2, we put the value 1, 2, 3, right? In the first row, we put these 3 values. And then we go to the second row. In the second row, again, what is the length of the second row? It's 3, right? Because we have a fixed 2-dimensional array. And then we continue 4, 5, 6. We're entering 3 more values. And then we go to the third row, and then 7, 8, 9, and then we continue like that. So that's what these 2 nested loops do. And in this case, this just, of course, goes through it and prints it, right? Okay, so let me give you another. I think you like examples better. Let's write a program which finds if an array contains a specific value, right? So here we have this array, and then let's say we're checking if this array contains the value 12 or 14, whatever. So of course for collections there is a contains method, but for arrays we have to loop through it and try to find if that one exists, right? So that does create a new class, and then say contains, or let's say array contains. Okay, and then I need a main. You see, now I remember main method. And then again, let's have this array. And then if this array contains int k equals 14. So let's check if this array, contains, of course, this can be done with a string or with other objects, but we're doing with integers, right? If array contains a specific value. Okay, again, the same thing. We'll loop through the array, and then if we find the value, we just break the loop and then say, okay, we found it. Or if it goes to the end and it doesn't find, then it will say couldn't find. Okay, so I'll give you like 3-4 minutes, and then we'll do it together. I see you a little bit tired today. I don't know why. Is it because of interviews? You're having too much interviews and you're tired? Guys, I'm changing the question. I'm saying find if it contains a specific value and of course print the index, right? Also print the index. I hope you're listening. And print the index of the element. Okay, so also somebody gave the answer. We can also check if it exists. We of a variable and say true, and then if it doesn't exist, at the end we say doesn't exist, right? We can also do that one. Because you didn't say if it exists or not, you just printed the index. Okay. So of course we have to do a for loop. If we only needed the if it exists or not, we can. Okay, let's do the first way, right? We just do the first thing. We need if it contains a specific value or not. So as we do in collections, we can also do in arrays, right? So we say for int I in array. So for every element of the array, what we'll do, then we can check if I equals k. So if we found the element, okay, we can say, sorry. So we can say found true, right? So found equals false at the beginning. And then if we find the element, we say found is equal to true, right? And also we don't need to continue. If we find the element, we don't need to continue. And we say break, right? We break the loop. If we don't break the loop, even though we find it, it will continue to search. So if, let's say we have an array with 1 million elements, or let's say, and then it will search, and then if it finds the value in the first element or second element or the first couple of elements, then the loop will continue up to 1 million elements, right? So that's why we have to break the loop if we find it. And then here at the end, we say if found the element was found, right? Or the array contains the number, and then we can put the number here, okay, right? And then if not, else the array doesn't contain the number. Doesn't contain the number, right? So here, let's just run it. And then the array contains the number 14. And then if we change the number to something that doesn't exist here, 56, and then it says the array doesn't contain the number 56, right? So that is, we can use enhanced for loop. We can use enhanced for loop if we need to just find if it exists or not. But if we need an index, we cannot use enhanced for loop. Why? Because we also need an extra index, right? So we have to use a for loop, like a normal for loop, because we have to find the. So this is one way. This only finds the. But if we need the index, we say for. That's why you have to use the for loop, or we can add an extra element there, right? For int I equals 0, I smaller than array.length. I plus plus. And then here, if array at element I, so the ith element of array is equal to k, then let me copy paste. I like copy pasting so much. So if it's equal to k, then it's found, right? And then we break it, right? So here the array contains the number k of course, you can do other ways, right? I'm doing this way doesn't mean that this is the correct one. At index, and then here we write the index. Now, can we use I here? What do you think, guys? Can we use I? What do you think? Any suggestions? So the array contains the number k at index I. Yes. But this I here, now you can see that it is giving me an error, of course, compile time error, because this int here is only declared inside, it can be only seen only inside the for loop. It is a local variable. But if I put this int here, okay, if I put this int outside the loop, like this, then it works, right? So I created a variable, the value is 0, and then here is the loop. As you can see, I just leave this semicolon here, which means I don't have an initialize statement because I've done it outside the loop, right? I've done it outside the loop, and then here I can use I, right? So for 56, array doesn't contain the number, but for 14, the array contains the number 14 at index 7, right? So 0, 1, 2, so we start from 0. We know programmers start from 0. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? So 14 is the 8th element of the array, but it is at index 0 because index starts from, and index 7 because index starts from 0. Okay, or we can also, have another variable in j, and then we say I. But if I don't break here, what if I don't break here? Will it work again? What do you think, guys? If I comment out this one, will it work? Give me suggestions without trying it. Just think about it. If we break this, if we don't break this for loop, can I use I here? Will it work? Can I have faster answers? Because if it takes too long, then just guess. I will not say anything. I will not mention your name. No problem. Just guess it. Okay, Frank Hobby, very good. So that's an answer. So here, if we don't break it, the loop will find it and it will continue to loop until the last element of the array. So that's why the index here will always be, so it was 7, 8, 9, 10. So this index, even if I find it at the 4th element, even if I find it at the 1st element or 7th element, it will always be 10 because I didn't break the loop here, right? So here it is at index 11. So okay, 11, because it also does one more increment at the end. Okay. But you see, even if I use 3 here, so even if I want to find the first element, it will say the array contains the number 3 at index, and then of course here we have to break it, and then if we break it, it will give us the correct index, right? Okay. 14. So there's another thing that we learned. If the loop goes till the end, I will also increment. So the loop will go, the first time I is 0, the loop goes here, and then it comes I is 1, and then I is 2, and then the last one is I is 10, and then here I is 11, but since 11 is not smaller than the length, then that's why it goes out, okay? So when I is 11, it will go out of the loop, okay? So there's something else that we can test if we don't break the loop. Okay. Let me see if I just found any interesting. Okay, let's write a program that inserts an element at a specific position, right? Let's write. Okay, let me say here array insert. Okay, let me create a class, name it array insert. Oh, of course, without a space. So to insert at a collection, we can insert it at the end by just inserting, or we can insert it at a specific index by using the index, right? But what about for arrays? Of course, you can set the value of a value, but we can set the value of an element, but I want the others to be moved, right? So let me copy this one from here. I know that there are a lot of ways of doing it. Any way will work. This is one. The second thing is, I don't suggest you to find it from internet. You can easily find it from internet, but let's suppose we are in interview and I'm asking you, first of all, don't forget main. This is so important. And the question is, write a Java program that inserts an element to a specific position into array. So the question is, we have this array, okay? We have this array. And we want we want 56 to be added between 12 and 5. So index 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Not here because so index 0, 1, 2. So I want this k element integer 56 to be inserted at index 3. Okay, when I say it index 3, so it is between 6 and 8. In this case, between 6 and 8. Okay. Did you get? I'll give you 10 minutes, okay? But did you get the question? Is everything clear? Because I don't want to come in 10 minutes and the question was not correct. So I want an element to be inserted at a specific position. So of course you have to move all the other, we have to move all the other elements in the array. So the new array will be, in this case, because the most important thing, guys, let me tell you, in an interview, the most important thing is, do you get the question right or not? If you don't get the question and try to solve it, you'll have problems, not only you, me, everybody. But the most important thing is you have to get the question. If the guy is asking something, there is something vague here, so you don't understand, you need some clarifications, just ask. You say, okay, I don't understand this one, or what do you mean by this one? Of course, you have to use the proper words, but you can say, what do you mean by inserting there? And then will these others be moved? Whatever is the question. Otherwise, you'll do something wrong, even though you can do it, but you will not be able to get the question. Okay. So is my question right? Do you get the question? Is it okay? Please, guys, I want you to answer, to type something. If it's clear, just say clear. If it's not, just say not clear. If you don't answer, I don't know, I feel like I'm talking to myself, and I feel like, I don't know. Just type something, just say clear, not clear. Okay, let's go. Okay, thank you for answering. So I want the integer to be, and then 15 minutes. Okay, so you can have the break and do it. Okay, so that's a 15 minutes. So now it is 8:18. So we'll be back 20:35. Okay. Thank you for reminding for the break. We'll be back at 35. Okay. Thank you. 8. Okay. If you want 8, doesn't matter. 8:35. So in 15 minutes, have a break and also try to solve this question, and then let's solve it together. Thank you. I'm back. It's 8:35. Did anyone do the question? Nobody? Did you try? You want me to give you another 15 minutes? Okay, Gamze, say something. I'm waiting for you. Okay. Yes, but I couldn't find the way without giving an out of function. Okay. Well, of course you have to create a new array. Now I'm thinking like what is happening here. So that's why the question was not clear. So one of the things is that you can either create a new array and then, of course, copy. Copy the elements to the new array, or you can just delete the last element, of course, because. Or you can just create. You don't need to create a new array. You can just delete the last element because, of course, that's the problem with arrays. I didn't think about. Didn't think of it. So that's the problem with arrays. The arrays, they don't grow and shrink. So if you have now 11 elements and you're trying to put another element here, of course, you either have to create a new array, or you can just, of course, get rid of the last element because you cannot put a new element there. Okay, is everybody okay? And yeah, I guess so. I hope so. Okay, so I'll do it in one way. So I will add the element, and then of course I'll do it in the same array. So of course I'll get rid of 11 here in this case. So I'll put 56 here, and then I will get rid of 11, of course. Otherwise I cannot do it. Okay, and then here say int index equals 3, right? So we're trying to put this one at the index 3. So also that one is dynamic. So we don't want to do it like from 3 to. So we need to do it dynamic. And then at the end we'll print the new array. Okay. Okay. So to do this one, the easiest way is to start from the last element, right? So we copy 0 to 11, and then 83 to this new index, and then 14 to this index. Otherwise, if you try to put something here, you will lose. Like if you put, if we put 56 here, then where will 8 go, right? So that's one. If I want to save 8, so I'll get rid of 11. So I'll move 0 here, and then 83 here, and then 14 here, and then 9 here, and then 8 here, and then 56 here. Okay, that's how we can do it. Okay. Okay. But of course, there are a lot of other complicated ways. So if you want to add, let's say 56 here, we can say, okay, what is the difference between 56 and k, 56 and 8, and then put the value there, and then whatever this, you can try to save the previous value, but this is without saving anything. Okay. So for int I equals to, so we'll start from the length of the array, right? Or length minus 1. So we can start from here and then move it to the next one, okay? So for int I is equal to array dot length we can say length and then just say copy the minus 1th element, or we can say length minus 1 and then copy that one there, okay? I greater, so we're going backwards, right? So from here, the index of 0, and then here, and then up to 3, right? And then I greater than the index, right? The new index, which is 3, the index of the new number, sorry, not. And then we have to increase it? No, we have to decrease it because we're going backwards, right? We have to decrease it. Okay, and then here it's easy. We just copy the ith element to the next one, right? So we say array I plus 1 equals to array of I, right? And then since it is only one row here, we can just remove parentheses, or we can leave it there, however you're used to, but we also can remove it. Okay, so we're copying this element to the new one. Okay, let's make sure that we're doing, so when it is I, we're saying it's 1, 2, 3, 4. So when it is 4, okay, is it greater than 3? Yes. Okay, so we're copying this one to 12, and then when we are here, I think we should we also use equal? Okay, we'll see. Let's print now what are the values of this one, right? We can use the enhanced for loop in this case to print. It's easy. For int I in array, for every integer in array. That's how we read this one, okay? For every integer in array, just print that integer, right? Print it, okay? For every integer. What's happening here? No, we're moving I to I plus 1. Yeah. Oops. Okay. Okay. Okay, so we're moving I minus 1 to I. Sorry for that was my bad. And then try to print. And then when we print, as you can see, 3, 5, 6, 8, 8. So we copied 8 here, but now this one is double. Okay, so now at the end, after we're done with the loop, now we can copy the element that we want in that position, right? So we say array index, that's what we're trying to do. We're just trying to put the element to that index, right? Is k. So we're putting the value of k to the index, okay? So if we print this one now, so as you can see, the new array is 3, 5, 6, 58, 8, 12. 3, 5, 6, and then 56, 8, 12. So the numbers continue, but we got rid of 11, and the last number is 0, okay? Because, yes, thank you for your help. Okay, so one more time, let me just explain this one more time. So we are here, okay? So it is array at length minus 1, but if it's index, we have to use -1, right? So so how many numbers are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 numbers. And let's get rid of 11, because if I use 11 here, then people think, okay, so this is the 11th number, but the index of this one is 10, right? Yes, so the index is 10, and then the length of the array is 11. So if I want to copy the index 9 to index 10, right? So that's why I'm using here from index from length -1. I'm copying the previous element to this one. Okay, I'm copying the previous element, which is index, which is 9 to 10, and then next one, if I go down, and then I'm copying the 8th one to the 9th, and then I go down 7th one to 6th to 8th, and then 6th one to 7th, until index, I'm saying here, index is greater, I is greater than index, is greater than 3. So it means that when I is 4, it is the last one, okay, the last one. So copying the 3rd one to the 4th, okay, so index 3 to 4. So I moved 8 here, so I have now 8 here and 8 here, okay, and all the rest moved. And now I have to just replace this number here with the number that I'm trying to get added there, okay. So here we just add the, if we do it before this one, okay, if I just comment out this one, what's happening? As you can see, 8 is twice. Why? Because 8 was here, and also 8 was copied to the next one, okay. So 0 was copied to the next one, 83 was copied to the next one, 14 to the next one, blah blah blah, and then 8 was copied to the next one. And then now here we can use anything here, and we're gonna use k there, okay. Okay, so another I mean, I know today we're doing too much difficult questions. So another one is try to find, let me see what I've seen here. Let's say we have an array. Of course, we're talking an array every time now. We have to look through the array. Try to find the pair of numbers which sum is equal to a specific number, okay? So let me see. Here, maybe I have here in my notes. Okay, yes, it's here. Okay, let's call it pair sum. Okay, so we have an array. Let me create a new class, and then I call it pair sum. Okay, so we want two numbers in the array which the sum is equal to the number that we'll give, right? Okay, of course we have a main here. As Ali said, I need a main, right? And then let me copy this one from here. So I have an array here, and I want sum to be k, and then let's find numbers here. 17, right? So we have 8 and 9, which is 17. So we want two numbers, a pair of numbers here, that the sum is 17, right? Let me write down here. Okay, here's the question. Write a program to find all pairs. Write a program, of course, Java, to find all pairs of elements in an array whose sum is equal to the specified number. Okay, So let me see if we have a. Okay. In our case, we want two numbers in our array whose sum is equal to 17. What's up, guys? Do you like the question? What do you think about the question? Is it hard? Is it difficult? Is it easy? What do you think? And of course, if we find it in internet, you can find it in 1 minute. But the problem is that try to solve it yourself, okay? And of course, there are multiple ways to do it. We'll go with the easiest way, okay? And then, okay. Actually, it's not so easy. So one way to do this question, okay, let me just give you a hint, okay? One way to do this question is, it's called brute force, right? You try all the options, okay? And then we do it that way, and then we'll try to do it in another way, which is faster, okay? So generally, we software developers, what we do, they give us a question and we do it, and it is called big O notation. Maybe you have heard about it. So you have to loop the array, let's say many times, okay? So you don't want to loop, because if the array is, if it has 1,000,000 elements, you don't want it to loop it millions times, right? You just want to loop it one time if possible and try to find the numbers, right? So that is the challenge. But the first way is the easy way, okay? It is slow. It's not considered the fastest way, but still is a way. You start with the first element. And then when you start with the first element, you search in all the other elements. If you have any number there whose sum with the first number is equal to 17, right? So you start at 3 and then try 3 plus 5, 17, no. 3 plus 6, I'm talking about the example that is on the screen, right? 3 plus 6, 17, no. 3 plus 8, no. 3 plus 12, no. 3 plus 5, blah, 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 and then none of them. Let's say, yeah, 3 plus 14 makes 17. So we have a pair, 3, 14. And then we try with 5. 5 and 6, it makes 17, no. 5 and 8, 5 and 0, and then until you find another pair. And then you continue like that. So as far as I can see, there are like multiple pairs, like at least 3 I see now. 3 pairs that the sum is 17, okay? So let's try to do it the first way. I'll give you 10 minutes, okay? So we'll loop through the elements and try to find a pair in the next upcoming values, okay? And then I'll try to do it in a different way, which is faster, and it's like more, let's say, professional, or more only faster. Yeah, guys, it's so difficult to talk to yourself. That's why I want you to just please give some. Oh, somebody did it. There is a good way, but of course, in this case, let's say, okay, I'm talking about the solution of Jakibayeva. Okay, so if you loop from the beginning to the end, let's say if I want something equal to 12, and I can find 6 and 6 is equal to 12. So 6 and itself, but I don't want itself, right? I want the next numbers. I want 6 plus something else equal to 12, or let's say 5 plus something else equal to 12, okay? So that's why you should try with Yeah, J should start from the next one, right? Not from the, but still is a very good and quick solution, right? The same for Dennis. J should start from, not from 0 again, should start from I plus 1, because we want to find a pair, not the same number. Because of course, the same number added to itself cannot make 17, but if I say equal to 18, then you'll find 9 there, which is 9 plus itself is equal to 18. But still very good and very fast. I like it, guys. Thank you for trying it. So let's try your solution first. Miss Jakibayeva. Okay, Jakibayeva. So sorry, I'm so sorry. So if we do this one, and then equal to K, and then if I use 18 here, so 18, and then as you can see, if you of course you found 6 and 12, you found again 12 and 6, okay, the same pair, and then 9 and 9. You see, 9 plus itself, it makes 18, right? Okay, yeah, a good one is if we start from I plus 1. And then trying to make 18, and then you find one pair, 6 and 12, right? If I make it 17, then you find multi. See, there are like a lot of pairs: 3 and 14, 5 and 12, 8 and 9, and then you have 12 and 5, right? 5 because 5 is twice there. Okay, another way. Kamza did it. Let's see how she did it. Yeah, you're skipping yourself by using, yeah. So that's a solution, but still it's better if we start the J from the next. So here we start J from I plus 1, okay? So because we don't want to find 6 plus 12 and then find again 12 plus 6, okay? Let me just remove 5 here because 5 is 12. So we don't want to find 6, 12 and 12, 6 because they're the same pair, right? Okay, guys, so let's go over it like for a minute and I'll try to find it, to solve it in a different way, which is really faster, okay? So in this case, so we start from Ji from 0, so we're taking the first element, and then J is starting from I plus 1, so we're starting from the second element, third, fourth, till the end, right? And then we go back, and then I is 1, so you get in the second element, and then J starts from I plus 1, so from 6, and then next elements, right, till the end. So this is one way, but as you can see, this will loop 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. How many elements are there? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So there are 10 elements. So the first loop will be 9 times, and then 8 times, and then 7 times, and then 6 times. So it is called, the big O notation is n square, right? Not too much. So if the array has 1,000,000 elements, then it would run 1,000,000 times, and then 999,999, and then 998, and then 997, blah blah blah. So it will run billions of times. Okay, so that's not a. This is a solution, but can we improve this one? Yes. One way to improve it, I'm not going to solve it now. I want you to try. Is we can order. Let me just say this is first and slow. Okay, first way, it is slow, right? So now we want second way, okay? We want it second way, and then it should be fast. It is fast, okay? So generally in the interview, they say, okay, very good, you solved this one. Can we improve this one? And then you have to think, okay, you don't find the solution. And then they can give you some hints. Let's say, okay, what if the array is ordered, okay? So we can easily order the array. How can we order the array? We have the arrays dot sort, right? Oops, not parallel, just normal sort. We can also do the parallel, doesn't matter. So we can sort the array, okay? So if we sort the array, and then if we print this one after it's sorted, for int I in array, so I'm just printing the array, okay? I'm not doing anything here. Print I, okay? So let me also comment out this first way. So as you can see, the same array is sorted, okay? Very easy, okay? Now the array is sorted. Can we find it? Should we again 0 plus 3 and then no, 0 plus 5 and then no, and then 0 plus 6? Or is there a faster way? Okay, I don't know if we have done binary search or binary sort. Generally, how it is done, so one of the indexes starts from the beginning. Let's say you have an array, and then you start one of index here, one index here, and then you say, is this one plus this one equal to 12? No, to 17, whatever. Is this equal to 17? No. Okay, is it smaller than 17? If it's smaller than 17, so you have to increase the number. So this is increasing, okay? If it's less, then you have to decrease, right? So that's how we go. If it's smaller, then you have to increase this index. So if you see it this way, it will solve just with one loop, right? So what is a loop? So you have the array here. In this case, if you see the numbers, is 0, 3, 5, 6, 8, 9. Okay, let me just to print, because okay, this is better. Okay, so we have the numbers 0, 3, 5, 6, 8, 9, 12, 14, 23, 83. Now are sorted, okay? And then we try 0 and 83. Is it equal to 17? No. Since it's not equal to 17, so is it smaller than 17? No, it's greater. So if it's greater, so you have to decrease the number. So you cannot try 83 with 3 and 5, because it will not. If you increase this one, you'll find a larger. So you have to find smaller. So you have to decrease 83. So you go to 23, 0 and 23. You guys can all see the screen, right? And you see what I'm talking about. I'm talking about these numbers here. 0 and 80. Okay, are you there? I want to make sure that you're listening, and I mean, I'm explaining. Okay, thank you. Okay, so 0 and 83. Thank you. 0 and 83. So we need smaller numbers. Okay, so just get rid of 83. Let's try with 0 and 23. Is it 17? No. Okay, just let's lower the number. Okay, get rid of 23. Try with 14. No, it's not 17. What if I increase? Yes, if I increase, then it is 3 and 14. Is it 17? Yes, but I can find other pairs. I'll continue. And then since it's equal, so now I have to go both numbers, right? So I go 5 and 12, because if I increase this one, 5 and 14 will not give me 17, because 3 and 14 give me 17. Now I have to increase this one and decrease this one. 2 and 12, 5 and 12, sorry, 5 and 12. Is it 17? Yes. Okay, another pair, print it. And then just lower both of them. Move both of them. 6 and 9, is it 17? No. Is it greater? No, it's less. Then I have to increase this one. 8 and 9, yes, it worked. So I found another pair, okay? As you can see, I've just looped once. So I've increased this one 3 times and decreased this one 3 times. So I've looped it only once. You liked it, right, guys? Can you please try to solve it now? I'll give you 10, 15 minutes, and then we'll do it together. You just try to do it. I told you the way. Was it clear? Do you have any questions? No answer as always. Okay, so I guess it's clear and you have no questions. Okay, I'll give you, what time is it? 9:06, 9:17. Let's try until 9:18. We'll be back at 9:18. Okay, so that's the way we sorted it. Now we're trying to find the sum by one index is 0, one is the last one, and then we go both ways until so we have the right and left index, right? So you have right and left, and then we go and then try to find pairs. Okay, 10 more minutes. Yeah, because in the array was 5 2 times. I removed it. It was like this, 5. So as you can see, you have 5 between 12 and 9, and 5 at the beginning. That's why. It's not your fault. It's just I removed it later. Okay. And also, I use this one to print the numbers in array, but also we have arrays that to string. To string, and then we put the array here. Okay, and then also this one. Okay. So the second, let's see if you did it, or you just specified 5s. Okay, 4. Now we cannot do because if we use 4 inside 4, it's called nested loop, and then it will run multiple times. Okay, so okay, we can use while loop, right? So we have a left index and the right index. Okay, and then we have a left. Of course, it is correct, but the thing is that it worked multiple times. Okay. Okay, so let's start. Okay, let me try one more time. System. Print line. And then inside, say, arrays dot to string. Sorry. And then say array, right? Let me try. Okay, yeah, so it prints. Okay, so we can either use this for loop to print, or after we have sorted, we just comment out this one, and then let's say here sorted array, sorted array, and then we can print it. Okay. So here the array to string is a method, and then this prints the whole array, right? We don't need this for loop here. We can use the for loop, but we don't need it. Okay. So after it's sorted, okay, it's printed. And then we have int left. So the left index is the one for 0. So it's 0. And then int right index is equal to the length minus 1, right? Array dot length minus 1. Okay, so 1 is the index for the first element, and 1 is the index for the last element, right? Okay, and then we have a while loop. So while, so we don't want to go, so I tried this one and this one, and then like go like this, and I don't want to continue, right? Because I found all the pairs. If I continue, I'll find the pairs again, so it will find twice. So that's why whenever the left passes the right, then it will have to stop, right? So we say while left is smaller than right. So while this index is smaller than this one, because we'll decrease the right one and we'll increase the left one, and then whenever like they're equal or this one pass each other, then we have to stop, right? We'll just do it while left is smaller than right. Okay. And then we check the sum, right? We can say int sum is equal to the array at the left plus array at the right index. Okay, so that's the sum. If sum is equal to the number that we want, to k, then we found the pair, right? So that's where we found the pair, and then we can just directly print the pair. Okay, so we can say print. We can use format here, right? Or we can just print the numbers, but this is just for formatting. It's not a big thing. We use also, I don't use it too much, so some I have to see. So the numbers will be formatted, right? Print, and then of course not print ln, but it's print f. So it's a formatted. We don't. This is something that it's not. And then we say array at left, right? And then array at the right. So when we find the pair, we just print the pair and say this is one pair, right? This is one pair. This is just for formatting purpose. And then we found the pair. Now we have to increase and decrease both of them, right? So left plus plus, and then right minus minus, right? So we increase the left and we decrease the right. What if they're not equal? If sum is not equal to k, so we didn't find the pair, so we check if sum, else if sum is greater than or let's say smaller than k. If it's smaller, then we have to increase the left, right? We just left plus plus. Otherwise, so it's not equal, it's not smaller, then it's greater, huh? We don't need to say else if greater. Else right minus minus. Of course, we have to put a semicolon here. Okay, so we're increasing the left if it's smaller, we're decreasing the right if it's greater, and then if it's equal, you just print the pair and do both increase and decrease. Okay, so when we're done with this one, we have printed all the pairs. Should we try? Yeah, so we started with 0 and 83, and then we had to lower this one 23, and then 14, and then we have to increase this one 3. So 3 and 14 was printed, and then continue 5 and 12, it's printed, and then continue 6 and 9, it's less than k, so we just increase the left. So 8 and 9, 17. So it worked, right? We can try with any number. Let me try with what numbers are. So let's try with 18, for example. And then if we say 18, we'll find just one pair, 6 and 12, right? So 6 and 12. Okay, so let me just leave it 17. Okay, so this way can also be done. So we first start with the first number, and then we try plus this one, plus this one, plus this one, plus this one, plus this one. If we find the pair, we just print it, and then we go, okay, next one, plus this one, plus. So that's how we do it. But as you can see, there are a lot of loops. The second way, We start from here and here, and then we're just increasing and decreasing. So it is just one loop. Okay, I guess everything. So guys, did you like the second way, and did you fully understand it? What do you think? I want to see yeses. Yes. Yes for liking and yes for understanding, I guess. Okay. Yeah, it looks like, but it's really faster. If you check, it, it will be really faster. So if you try this one with 1,000, or let's say, I don't know, even with 100 elements, and then we try, if there are 100 elements, and then if you take the time and try, the first one will take, let's say, 1 second, the second way will take just 1 millisecond. Okay, so that's why it's really, really faster. But of course, it is. Okay, so the last question for today. I mean, I'll just explain the one that I shared with you. The question was, so we have an array of elements. Okay, we have an array of elements, and we wanted to find the consecutive pairs. Right, the question that I asked on live channel, and it was like kind of homework for this week. Okay, so I solved it in 2 ways, and then there was one of the students, he solved it in another way, and also I have to point out something there. Okay, so let's call this one consecutive pair, right? Consecutive pair. So we should be careful with the naming there. Consecutive pair means you have elements there in the array. You have the elements there, and you want consecutive elements in the array. Okay. If it says find the subset that the longest subset that is consecutive, means subset means sub elements, you can group them, and then but in this case I'm asking whatever the array is, just go through the array and try to find the longest pair. Okay, the longest consecutive pair. Okay, very good. Now I'm learning about main. Okay, let's have an array here. Int array. I can use the same array. So we have, let me have the numbers that are here. 8, 1, 3, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 9, 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. Okay, so this is one array. So here, as you can see, there is no consecutive pair here, and then here we have a consecutive pair. 1, 2. So that's what I mean. We really, again, I'm mentioning this one. We should be on the same page. So that's the question. I want the pair here. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is 1. There are 4 elements there, and I have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 here. So there are 5 elements here. So which one is longer? 5 elements. So that's what I want to print. Okay. So I'll solve this one in 2 ways. So the first way is I will use the index, and I'll say, okay, this one is the index of the pair. So here is the index, and then 4 are the elements. So if I have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if I say 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So this one here is the 4th element, right? It's element index 4. So I can say from index 4 plus 4, so it is up to 8, right? So those 4 elements can be printed. So if I keep the index 4, and then the length 4, it means that I'm getting that part of the array. Okay, so I'll keep the longest index is 0 at the moment, right? And then I will okay, of course, int, and then int longest length. So the length of the number, if I have just one number, the length is 1, and then if I have 3 numbers, the length is 3. Okay, so it means that 1, 2, 3, 4, there are 4 numbers here, and then 3, 4, 5, so the index is, let's say, 8, 1 second, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So this is index 10, and I have 5 elements, so I just need longest index is 10, and then elements are longest. So the length there, length is 1. So in the array, there will be definitely one number. So the longest for now is 1. Any number is consecutive, right? The 8 is a consecutive, so that's 1. But if I have 2 numbers here, so there's 2, and then it's 3, and then it's 4. Okay, that's why I start with 1. And then int, and then again the current, because current is the one that I'm just dealing now. The longest are the one that I've already found. Current index is 0, and then current length is 1, right? So I mean length is 1 means starting from here I have just one number, so that's the only number. Okay, and then I can keep the previous, but for now I don't need it. Okay, so 4. So I'll go through each element, right? I'll start with 8. Okay, and then the second one is the previous one. Is the previous one less than this one? Yes. Okay, so I have 2 consecutive numbers. Okay, so that's what I'm trying to do. So for int I don't want to start from 0 because I want to start from the second one and check with the first one. Or I can start with from 0 and then get the next one, is the same thing. For int I is equal to 1, I is smaller than array dot length, and then I plus plus, right? So if array at I minus the previous, we can do it anyway. So if this one is 1 greater than the previous element, right? So I'm at 1, I'll compare it with the 0. Minus array, I'll do it this way, you can do it different way. I minus 1 is equal to 1. So this number minus the previous one is 1. It means that I found a consecutive pair, right? So these 2 numbers are consecutive. And then the length, it was 1. Since I found a number which is consecutive, so it was, so here, 8, just go on, 1. And then here it's 1. And then when I come here, index 5, which is for the number 2, index of this number, if this number is previous than, is 1 greater than the previous one, so this one minus the previous one is 1, it means that these 2 numbers are consecutive. So now the length is 2. I have 2 consecutive, 1 and 2. So I'm talking about these 2 numbers here. So now the current length is increased. So it was 1, now it is 2, okay? And then the current length, if I found a larger pair than the previous one, I'm just gonna add it, right? If current length, so if I found a longer one than the longest I have already, which is the longest is 1, if this one is longer than the longest, so now I found a longer one, right? So I have to replace it. So I'm saying now this is the longest. The longest length is equal to the current length, right? So I found, and also I also have to put the index. Now I am at, so I mean, for now, let's just leave it, because I'll do it at the end. And then, sorry, here. Else, so if I find a consecutive one, then I increment the length. And if this, okay, if this length is longer than the longest, then I just replace it. Otherwise, I'll just continue, just reset it to 0, because I'm increasing. So here in this case, I'm increasing. So 2, go here, increase 3, go. Is it 1 greater than? Yes. So current length is 4. And then if I come here, is it 1 greater than the previous one? No, it is not. So I'll start this here will be the current length. Again, I'll reset them. The current length is 1, and the current index. So now I have a new consecutive. Is just 9. Is just 1, right? Current index is I. Okay. And then here, this one happens if it's longest than the longer. So whatever is the index here is also the index of the longest, right? Longest index is equal to the current index. Okay, and then when we're done, let's just try to print the array here. Arrays dot to string, right? Of course. What is this? So yeah, so I found, so in this case, I'll find the index of this one, whatever it is, and I have to print, and I know the index of this one, and the length is 5, so I have to print 5 numbers. So it's not, I don't want to print the whole array. Sorry, it was my mistake. So for int, so we'll start at the index, right? So we know that I want to print these 4 numbers, these 5 numbers. So I have to start at this index, which is the longest index. I equals to the longest index. So starting at the longest index, and then I is smaller than longest index plus the longest length, right? Longest length, and then I plus plus, right? I have to increase I. And then just I have to print. Now I have the array. So I'm at this index, so I can print this element, and the next one I'll print 5 elements, right? And then I'll print array at I. Okay, and then of course a comma there, whatever we want to print, plus comma. As you can see, we found this one. Okay, so this one works with this array, but also if I give a different array, it should still work. So it is int, I have another array here, array, sorry, let me find the array. I mean, this is just an example. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, 10, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 3, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay. So of course, this was a question earlier, right? We said we can initialize new int this one, sorry, new int this one, or also you can initialize without the new int this one. Okay, that's what Java accepts. So Java accepts you can put just the numbers in parentheses, and then that's initialize an array. Okay, so here we have a pair 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So length is 5. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So the length here is 7, which is longer. And then 9, 10, 11, 12. The length is 4. So this is the longest one. Okay, so I want to print from 4 to 10. Okay, let's try if it works. So as you can see, it prints for 4 to 10. Okay, so this is one way. You can have a look after the class. I want to do it in another way, which is using array list. Of course, they can say we allow you to use it, or they don't allow you to use different data types. Sometimes they wanted to do it without using a new data type. Just try to do it as it is. So you have to do it this way. Or if they allow you to use array list or set or whatever, then you can use it. Okay, so you have to ask, and then you have to make sure that they want you to use it. Okay, and this one, second one, is for me it's more. I think it's easier and for you. Okay, so consecutive pair array list. So consecutive pair using, let's say, array list. Okay. And then I'll copy paste the main from here, but I'll delete the other part. Are you tired, guys? 5 more minutes and then I'll give you a break. I guess you're tired, right? But I'm proud of you. Nobody left. They're still, the attendees are there. Okay, so we'll use this one. We'll try to do this one using array list. Okay. Okay, so we can do it in a method. Just give the array to the method, and then we want the method to do it, or we can just implement it here. Okay, we don't need a new method, or let's do it that way. Okay. List of integers. So if you have to use a list, you cannot use list of ints, because list accepts only objects, integers. List of integers, longest list, right? So this is the list, longest list is equal to new array list. And then let me just import this one and this one. Okay. And then that's the same for, and then here I can add longest list. I can add the first element, right? So that's the longest list is the first longest list dot add, and then array 0. So the first longest list is the list with just one element, which is the first element. And then the same is for the current list, right? List integer. And then this is the current list. So the first element is the longest and the current, right? Is the current list, but also is the longest list. Array list. You can leave this one or you can delete this one, doesn't matter. And then again, current list dot add, and then array 0. Okay, so the first element. So this is one way, or we can initialize this. This is initializing the current list. Okay, we can say, so this is the current list, and this is the longest list at the moment, right? I can initialize this way, or I can say longest list is equal to current list, right? But if I use this way, you should be careful. You can debug it. It is just pointing to the same list, right? So if you change the current list, you have changed the longest list. If you change the longest list, you have changed the current list. So this kind of assignment for objects is dangerous because it is not a new object, it is the same object. So both of them are pointing at the same object. I don't know if you remember when you use the permutable, right, for the strings. So these are not permutable, so they are pointing at the same object, okay? So if you change current list, if you add something there, you have changed the longest list. If you want, let's try. Let me just show you how it is, okay? So this is something that I wanted to point out. So let's print longest list, right? Longest list for now has only one, okay? And then let's add something to the current list. Current list dot add. This is really add. Let's add the second element of the array, right? The second element of the array, and then let's print the longest list again. So I didn't change longest list, I changed current list. But as you can see, if I print this one, also longest list has changed. So that's why you should be careful when you say longest list is equal to current list. It means that there are two variables pointing at the same object. But if I say if I say new, this one, that's what new array list, okay, and then current list. This one, what does it do? This one says create a new list, and then in this new list has only the elements that has the current list. So again, here it will have only one because it is creating a new list that has the elements of the current list. Okay, now there was this list, you're creating a new one, but they have both the same elements. If you add something here, this one doesn't matter because this is you're adding element only to this list. So if you try this one, so at the beginning it had one, you added something to the current list, longest list doesn't care. It's not added here because they are pointed to two different objects, okay? So that's the difference between this statement and this statement. So that's why I have to be careful. I saw it in the code of the student. So so if you're changing something here, you're also changing something here. So that's why I have to be careful, okay? I'm gonna leave this one here. But I don't want to initialize this way. I can also initialize longest list dot add. So you have two different array 0. So you already have two different lists. They are initialized, so they're two different objects. And then you have added the same element here and the same element. So still there are two lists. You added something here, you added something here, okay? So that's the third way of doing it. Okay, just let me also comment out this one here, just for your reference. If you do it first way or second way, okay, I'm just going to leave it here. Okay, so in this case is just adding the element to the list, okay? So this is the same logic, but it is more understandable. So for int I is equal to 1, so we're actually implementing the same thing as we did, but in this case we have the length of the list. So array.length I plus plus. Okay, I. Okay, smaller than the length. Okay, so again, the same logic. If, what we did here, if array, so this one is the same thing. But here, we can compare this one to the previous, so, okay. Now at the beginning, we have this one is the current list, okay? So now we're here, 2. You can compare this one with the last element of the list, okay? If array at this place is 1 bigger or than the last element of the list, is still, you're still growing the list. You have a list with 3 elements, you found another one which is just 1 bigger than the last element, so you can check this one with the last element of the list, right? So current list dot get, right? You're getting, how you get the last element of the list? You say current list dot length -1, because you don't want to size, sorry, not length, size -1, because you don't want. So this one is the size, but if you want to get the last element of the list, you have to get the size -1, okay? So this is to get the last element in the list. And then if this element here that we are now in the array, if 1 greater than the last element of the list, so we can grow the list, okay? So if it's greater, we can easily add it, right? Current list dot add. You can add current element to the list because it's 1 greater, okay? So we're continuing to grow the list. And then if current list dot size, now if we find a longer one, we can is greater than current longest list dot size. So we found now a longer one, okay? We have to, if we do this one, again the same thing. If we do this one, they will point to the same. So whenever you're doing something to the current, you're doing to the longest. That's why you have to be careful. So the longest list, that's why in the code that I shared with you, I use this way. So get the elements from the current list, put in the longest list, and create a new object. Okay, so now you're saying that the longest list is a new array with the elements of the current list. Okay, you're just copying the elements and you're not pointing to the same. And then here else, so this one is the same as this one, but you're using the array list. Okay, else, now you found an element, so here, anywhere here, found 8. Is this one greater than the last element of the list? No. Now you have to create a new list, right? A new current list. So current list dot actually equal to new array list. Okay. And then also you add the current element in the list. So now you're creating a new list with just 8 in this case, right? Current list dot add array I at the index that we are, okay? And then after we're done, we can easily just print. After we're done, we can just easily print the longest list. Okay, so this one prints the longest list. Just print it, and then as you can see, we found 4, 5. So we find 4, 5, and then in this case, we should find 3 to 7. So print. So this one prints the elements in you're printing the array list, which does the toString of this one is all the objects inside. Okay, I know it's too late, it's the last minute, so I guess I hope you'll like these examples. It was a little bit tiring for you, but I hope you learned something. Okay. So next week probably we'll do collections. Okay, because collections we can find a lot of interview questions with collections, and then we can go through them next week. Okay. Thank you and good night. Good night. Good night, guys.